Ooh, you guys, I am not usually nervous about going live because I've been doing things like this for a while, but this one, it's making me nervous. I'm nervous on this one because I am going to be super vulnerable in this video, and I'm probably gonna cry, but that's okay. That is okay. I'm gonna try to save this. I was trying to see if I could share it into a group, but it's not giving me that option. So it'll be okay. I can always save the video at the end and share it into those groups later. I don't want to psych myself out by waiting to get into this. So I'm gonna get into it, but I'm gonna pick on myself first and let y'all know that I came prepared. I fully intend to avoid crying, but I have a feeling it's going to happen because I have been going through this in my mind since Thursday. And every time I think about it, I have cried. And so I'm sure that there will be some tears, but that's okay because I really do hope, as I put in the caption, if it's showing, sometimes it doesn't show up. I'm really hoping that through my story, someone, at least one person, is going to be inspired to believe in themselves and grow. So here we go. In the caption, if the caption is there, I shared just a little bit about me. So everyone who's watching, you know who I am, at least at the basics of it. So I'm Alicia Watkins, and I became a teacher in 2010. In 2010, when I became a teacher, I was only 22, and I teach high school. So for the record, most of my kids are as big as me. And as a brand new teacher in 2010 at 22, virtually all of them were as big as me. And it was a little intimidating at times, but I loved teaching. I became a mom in 2011. At the age of 23. It was the very beginning of my second year teaching when I had my oldest son, Braden. And becoming a mom is definitely a highlight of my life. And now I have 3 beautiful kids, and I'm so thankful that they are, for the most part, happy and healthy. And I am abundantly blessed to be able to say that, because I know a lot of people can't say that. And then I became a wife to Darren in 2012 at the age of 24. And if you guys know me and Darren, we are very much in love. I should have tagged him in this, but he's at work, so he'll see it later. But he is one of my biggest supporters and my biggest advocates, and he's going to come up a few times in this story of personal development. So this is basically my story. It's going to loop around a lot. There's ups, there's downs, but we all start somewhere. And I want you guys to realize that if you are feeling like you don't like the chapter you're in, you turn the page and you can start a new chapter at any point in time. And really that inspiration, it came from the fact that I just had my 34th birthday on Thursday. And I look at each new year kind of as a chapter in my life. And I started thinking about past chapters and good times and bad times. And that is what led me to telling you guys this story. And it really does start with what I told you guys. I was in my early 20s when I became a teacher, when I became a mom, and when I became a wife. And that entire decade, my 20s, it was dominated by those 3 things: me being a teacher, a mom, and a wife. And in that time, I do feel like I was on my own journey of trying to find myself. And don't worry, I do eventually find it, but I'm going to lose it a few times along the way. And that's probably when I'll cry, but here we go. So when I first started teaching, guys, I started teaching down in Lumberton, North Carolina. For those who are from North Carolina, you probably know roundabouts where I'm talking about. And my first few years in education at Lumberton were amazing. I loved it there. But after having Braden, in 2011, the drive to Lumberton became a lot, because you guys who are from North Carolina, you guys probably know, I've always lived in Fayetteville, Hope Mills, Grace Creek area my entire life. So the drive to and from Lumberton, it became a lot after I had Braden, and I felt like I was missing out on time with him. And then I had Jordan in 2012, so I had 2 little boys at home, and I just felt like I was missing a lot of time with them. So I started seeking to come back to Cumberland County as a teacher, because I live here and it's what shaped me. So in the 14-15 school year, I was able to return to the jungle, and if you know what I'm talking about. I graduated from Southview High School here in Cumberland County, which it really did shape me a lot. I had phenomenal teachers in high school. That's the real inspiration behind me wanting to be a teacher. And so I was absolutely blessed to come back to the high school I graduated from, and I actually am working alongside some of the teachers who taught me. And it brought me a whole new energy to teaching when I came back to Southview. And here's where things get dicey. I'm gonna try not to cry. In one of my first few years at Southview, and I don't remember the exact year on this, but I know it was either in my first, second, maybe third year at Southview. We had a huge beginning of the year back to school kind of kickoff meeting is what they called it. And it was for our entire attendance area. So I teach in the high school. And when I say attendance area, for those who don't understand how that kind of works, we have a bunch of elementary schools that feed into our middle schools. We have 2 middle schools that feed into my high school. So in our big back to school thing, there was our high school teachers, middle school teachers from those 2 middle schools, and then all of the elementary schools that feed into our programs. So we had all these different schools represented, and that is where I guess this kind of kicks it up a notch. And she is probably wondering why on earth she was tagged in this video, and I hope that she will comment when I get into this, because I did not warn her first. So in that beginning of the year back to school meeting, I remember it like it was yesterday. This is, again, I don't remember the exact year, but it's been some time. I remember they were doing celebrations and shout outs for different things at different schools, like kind of celebrating to get everyone excited. And Chastity Robinson was a teacher at one of our feeder elementary schools. And Chastity and I really don't know each other very well. But Chastity, we went to kind of rival high schools. We went to the same college, so we knew of each other. And I believe that she was recognized as her school's teacher of the year at that meeting. If I am wrong, she can correct me, but I feel like that's what I remember. And she stood up and she was wearing a Scentsy t-shirt. So she was teacher of the year and she was wearing a Scentsy t-shirt. And I remember like she just was smiling and she looked so happy. And I'm going to go ahead and say now that I had no clue the struggles that Chastity had gone through to get where she was when she was able to stand up as teacher of the year in her Scentsy t-shirt. I know some of more now, but I didn't know then. And from the outside looking in, I just was like, that will never be me. For 2 reasons. I had been teaching for a while. Chastity and I actually started teaching, I think, in the same year. But I never thought that I would be teacher of the year. Like, I never thought that that was something I would do. And it's not that I thought I was a bad teacher, because I thought I was pretty good, but I never thought that I would be a teacher of the year. And I was a Scentsy consumer, but I was a very casual Scentsy consumer. And I also was, I wasn't an anti-MLMer, but in my head, looking at Chastity in that meeting, I was like, I'll never be teacher of the year. And I could never be in any direct selling company. Couldn't be me. More power to Chastity. Those were literally my thoughts in that meeting. And that goes to show you that I genuinely doubted myself. And I had those struggles with doubt for a while. Like, I could never do that. I could never do what this person's doing or that person's doing. And I feel like it held me back for a long time. I will say, even when I was doubting myself, I did try to show up as the best version of me every day for my students, for my coworkers, for my friends, all that stuff. Now we got to fast forward a little bit. I'm trying to give you guys the highlights, the Spark Notes version. So remember, I look at every year as a new chapter in your life. So in 2018, it was coming up on my 30th birthday. And I was terrified of turning 30. For anyone who's in their late 20s or in your early 30s, you probably know the feeling of, oh my gosh, my youth is over. What am I going to do now? That's literally how I felt before my 30th birthday, because I told you guys, I was a teacher, I was a mom, I was a wife, and that was pretty much it. I had no hobbies. I had nothing to say that, like, this is me outside of those three things. And if you have noticed, all three of those things are very much wrapped up in other people, my students, my own children, and my husband. And while I love all of those people, where was me in that equation? It was definitely missing. So I was scared. I turned 30 in 2018. And I will tell you guys, 30 was not nearly as bad as I expected. I did start to find some confidence in me in early 2018. And then we're fast forwarding a little bit more. At the end of the 2018-2019 school year, I was presenting at our big end of the year awards that we do for our seniors. And as the department chair of the social studies department, I was reading off all of the awards for the students who were graduating. And, you know, we gave awards for a variety of things. Well, at the end of that meeting, I knew that it was coming, that they were going to announce our Teacher of the Year for the following school year. So it's the end of the 18-19 school year. And my principal gets up on stage and she starts talking. I don't remember half of what she said, but in the end she says, and I am so happy to announce that our Teacher of the Year for the 1920 school year is Alicia Watkins. And I cried, and I'm gonna cry now because I never thought that would be me. And so if you've been here from the beginning, I've already said, you know, when Chastity Robinson stood up a few years prior, when she was announced as her school's Teacher of the Year, I didn't think that would ever be me. And I found myself as Teacher of the Year for the 1920 school year. And that was super exciting. I found me, you guys. And when I say the outpouring of support was ridiculous in 1920, it was ridiculous. When I shared on social media that I had won Teacher of the Year for my school, the school I graduated from, it was amazing. But winning for my school, it put me in the running to be Teacher of the Year for the county. And if you're not in education, you have no idea. There's a lot of work involved in these types of things. So over the summer, I had to do a big portfolio, and it took a lot of reflection on me as a teacher. But it was cool. Like, I really enjoyed going through the process. And I remember when I shared on Instagram my big portfolio, and I was like, y'all pray for me. I have my interview tomorrow to try to become the Cumberland County Teacher of the Year. And a lot of my former students are on my Instagram. So they all were commenting, and it overjoys teachers when you can build connections with your students, that they stick around. Because some of these people, I mean, they're approaching 30, some of them. Because remember, I started teaching at 22, and some of them were 18. And so many of my students showed up on that post and they said, I don't care if you win or lose, Miss Watkins, you are the teacher of the year. You always have been the teacher of the year. And so I went into that teacher of the year for the county meeting. Actually, no, it was for the attendance district first. And remember, the attendance district is the high school, the 2 middle schools that feed into our school, and all of our elementary schools. So it was probably for my attendance district, and I don't know how many elementary schools we have, so I'm guessing probably about 10 to 15 people that you're kind of being put up against. And I did that. And I did my interview. The interview I thought went really well, but I didn't have the highest of hopes moving forward because I know I'm going up against some of the best teachers in our attendance district. And historically, elementary teachers are usually the ones who win the attendance district in my district. So I was like, you know what? My kids love me. My kids are excited. It doesn't matter if I win this. It's okay. So the summer was over. August rolls around. So we're in August of 2019. And this year, our big beginning of the year meeting is not at the high school. It's not with our attendance district. It is at the Crown Coliseum in the Agra Expo Center. For those who are from our area, you probably know what I'm talking about. So we're in this big open room. It's not just my attendance district. It is literally every single Cumberland County Schools employee in the entire district. I don't even know how many people that is, y'all. I know it's thousands of people. And there were so many people that they bussed us from our school on the big yellow fella to go to this meeting because they were worried that there would be too many people trying to fight to get into the Crown. Like, that's how crowded it was. And I get there and my principal's waving and she's like, you have to sit here. And I walk over and there's a little plaque on my chair that says, Alicia Watkins, Southview Teacher of the Year. So every single Teacher of the Year for each school had a special seat, and it was like an aisle seat. It was kind of cool. And I knew that they would be announcing the attendance area Teacher of the Year at this meeting. And I didn't have a lot of faith. Like, I was excited, but I didn't have a ton of faith that I would win because elementary school teachers usually win in our attendance district. And the meeting was cool. Like, people were dancing. We had a great time. But then toward the end of the meeting, they get up and they say, okay, now it's time to announce kind of our top contenders in the county. We're going to announce the attendance district winners for Teacher of the Year. And these people will go on to the next round to compete for the county Teacher of the Year. And I won, y'all. And I was shocked because I had won for my attendance district. And I have a really cool plaque. I'll add it to this post if I can find the picture after I won. And I had to do another round of interviews. Long story short, I did not win the county prize, but it didn't matter because the people that were going for the county prize, they were absolutely phenomenal. Like, they were phenomenal. I felt blessed just to be at the same table with these people. I really did. And I felt like I had found myself, right? I found myself. This is 1920. I'm Teacher of the Year. I was doing all the Teacher of the Year things. I was having a great school year. My principal was pushing me in new ways to grow. I presented professional development at the county level to social studies teachers throughout our county. And I actually presented at the North Carolina Council of the Social Studies meeting for my entire state in February of 2020. Again, this is like pivotal highlight of my career. I'm Teacher of the Year. I'm Teacher of the Attendance District. And I'm presenting at the state level as a social studies educator. And then March 2020 happened. And if you don't know what March 2020 was, I don't know what rock you've been under. March 2020, COVID shut it all down. School went virtual. It was the toughest time for educators. There are some teachers who signed up to teach online. I was not one of those teachers. I signed up because I love kids. I love teaching kids. And it was very difficult to maintain relationships through a computer. And it became even more difficult when we started a year with new students. Because I'm going to cry. Aria's visiting me. She's face palming because I told her I'm going to cry. But it sucked, y'all. It legitimately sucked. Going from the highest of highs, I am teacher of the year. It's 2020. I'm still teacher of the year. Now I'm teacher of the year at home in my office, teaching through a computer, talking to a blank screen. The kids aren't responding. It was horrible. And in that moment, I felt like everything I had built up, everything that I built up in the past year, I'd lost it. I lost it all again. And I was not happy. I wasn't happy. And, you know, I've got 3 littles. This is my youngest one. And I have a husband. And I had students that I had to keep showing up for, even though I felt like everything sucked. So I go back to what I said earlier. Even when I was doubting myself, don't mess with that, that's yucky. Even when I was doubting myself, I kept going. Well, the school year ended. We had no idea what was going to happen going into our next school year. So June, July of 2020, I had never prayed for a summer break so hard. And it came. And in that summer, there was kind of a transition, right? I told you guys back when Chastity Robinson stood up as her teacher of the year early in my time at Southview, in her Scentsy t-shirt. I was already a Scentsy user, but I was casual, and I'd never thought that I would even be slightly interested in doing direct sales. Well, in that summer, I had a former student, Hydea, who I should have tagged in this. I'm going to go back and tag her, who joined Scentsy. And so I bought from her. I wanted to support my former student. She was one of my students from Lumberton, actually in my very first year of teaching. And then one of my coworkers was hosting a party for one of her friends with Scentsy, so I purchased from her. And then it's like July of 2020, and Darren looks at me one day and he's like, "You've gotten 3 Scentsy boxes in the span of like 3 weeks. What the heck is going on here?" And I was like, "I don't know." And then I was in that party, and the consultant,
Mommy, where were we?
you were at the house too. The consultant was doing giveaways, like engagement giveaways. And I won one of the prizes, and she sent me a sample of Johnny Appleseed, and it was like, I think a wax sample, a scent circle, and a room spray. I had never used scent circles, and I had never used room sprays. I was like wax and warmers, and that was it. But I fell in love with Johnny Appleseed, and it was a scent that I never would have picked from the scent description. It says it smells like ripe apples, and that's what it smells like. But from the scent description, I never would have bought it. I never would have tried it. But I fell in love with the scent, and so I ordered it in counter cleaner from my former student that I wanted to support in her new business. And so there was another box of Scentsy. And Darren would come home in the afternoons from work. He used to work all weekends. He still works Sundays, so he's at work today. But he came home from work one day and he said, "Alicia, what do you have in the warmer today?" And I went, "Nothing. Sir, those warmers are not on. I just cleaned the counter with my new counter cleaner." And he was like, "Dang, that stuff really works." And so not long after, I bought Blue Grotto counter cleaner because I was venturing into new scents and new products. And so at that point, yes, in that period, I'd gotten now 4 Scentsy boxes in the matter of a month. And so Darren, I'm tying this back, Darren knows Chastity because we all went to the same college. And he said, "Alicia, you're buying a lot of Scentsy. And I was like, yeah, I am. And then I said, and they're about to discontinue Johnny Appleseed and the wax. Scentsy's lost their mind. And he was like, well, you've been talking about Scentsy a lot. You've been buying Scentsy a lot. And I see Chastity does Scentsy, and she's pretty successful. She's earned free trips, and I know she's making money if she's earning trips. So maybe you should join.
Do you have a piece of paper?
And I looked at this man like he was crazy, y'all. I told y'all in the beginning that Darren is one of my biggest supporters. And so I didn't immediately say I'm joining, but I thought about it. And late that night, when the entire world was sleeping, I made the decision to join. Now, I did put a little post out on Facebook after Darren made that suggestion. And I said, my husband just told me to join Scentsy. Am I crazy or should I do it? And one of the posts or responses that I got was from one of my coworkers. His name is Phil. And he said, hey, if you decide to join Kelsey. Well, Kelsey is his daughter. And we did know each other, but we weren't like the best of friends, but we'd known each other for a few years at that point. And so like that night when the world was sleeping and I made the decision to join, I joined Kelsey. And that brought me into the group that I am a part of, Southern Wax Warriors. And interestingly enough, our superstar director, Melanie, at the time was Kelsey's neighbor. So I came into Scentsy kind of defeated as a person, mainly because I felt like being a teacher was who I was, and now I'm in limbo. It's July of 2020. We don't know what's going to happen in August. We're waiting to find out, but I wanted to do something different. But I was scared to death, y'all. When I say I was scared to death, I am not exaggerating. For like 3 days, I was like, what the heck have I done? I can't believe that I have joined direct sales. I am going to suck at this. I'm going to suck at this. But I did it, and I dove in, and within a few days, I got my very first order from Heather, who is now on my Scentsy team. Should have tagged her too. I'll tag her in the comments so she can watch the replay. And from there, it just gave me the motivation to keep going. So August came. Y'all guessed it. We stayed virtual. The August 2021 school year was arguably one of the most difficult in my career, but I was growing. And this is why I am coming back to the overall concept here. We have to remember that it's not always going to be on the upward. Like, we're going to have down moments. And even though I'm telling you 2021 was one of the most difficult years of my teaching career, I had a lot of growth in that year. I learned new technology. I learned new ways to connect with people. And believe it or not, a lot of the things that I was learning through Scentsy trainings, I started to apply in other parts of my life. I started to apply it to how I connected with the social studies department, because I was and am the social studies department chair. I was learning how to be more active on social media. Well, guess who's active on social media? My students. And so I started to realize that if this is how I can connect on social media, why don't I use that when I'm trying to connect with them on a Google Meet? And a lot of the things that I was learning in Scentsy, they helped me grow. And also they helped me to create boundaries, because one of the things that Melanie and the other leaders in our Scentsy team believe in is taking care of yourself and setting boundaries to take care of yourself. And I started to realize that I had no boundaries, especially when it came to education, because I had been so wrapped up in that's who I was that I let it become all that I was. And when you're working from home as a teacher, it is hard to disconnect at the end of the school day. So I started putting those boundaries in place, and that made me more present for these little people. And that I am very, very grateful for. So chapter 33 started out with me finishing a virtual year. We did go back to the, school. And when we went back, we were on a hybrid schedule, which meant part of our kids were at school and part of them were online, and we did both simultaneously. That was more difficult than virtual teaching. And then I will fast forward to this school year, our 21-22 school year. All of our kids are back in the building, but we do have a lot of issues that we're dealing with in education. And so my chapter 33, it was difficult, but I call it a growth season. And as simple as it might sound, I attribute a lot of that to what I've learned through Scentsy and the trainings that we've done. And that brings me up to the modern, because I told you I just had a 34th birthday, so I'm going into chapter 34. Well, right now I am in a Hustle to Director program with a lot of my Scentsy sisters. And the goal isn't necessarily a director title per se, but it is growth. So we had a speaker this past week, and it was literally, I think it might have been on my birthday or the day before. And our speaker, her name is Shannon Grant. I had to write it down because I don't know her personally, but she is part of our bigger team. And I'm paraphrasing, but in that training, she said something to the effect of, Scentsy is a personal development business with just some Scentsy sprinkled in, just some fragrance sprinkled in. And I thought to myself, excuse my language, holy shit, she's right. Because if it wasn't for Scentsy and the things that Scentsy's taught me in the last year and a half, I don't know that I would have found myself in the world that we're currently in. Because the last 3 years in education have been the hardest of my career, hands down. But I have made it a point to show up and be the best version of me. And in that, I found who the best version of me is. Yes, I'm a teacher. Yes, I'm a mom. Yes, I'm a wife. But I'm also Alicia. So in my chapter 34.
Mom, I'll know your name.
Yeah. So in my chapter 34, which it really has just gotten started, I'm working a lot on me. I'm growing in my business. I have a team of 30 women who count on me, and we are an amazing group of people from various places in the United States. And we cheer each other on a daily basis. And that makes a big difference, who you surround yourself with and the people who support you. I also have started working out because I want to take care of myself, because I know if I take care of myself, I'm going to take care of my littles much better. And a healthier, happier me is going to lead to a better classroom, a better mom, a better wife, and hopefully a better business. So there it is, y'all. That's the crux of my story. There have been a lot of times in the last 4 years that I have felt like I've lost myself. But I had to make the decision to turn the page and start a new chapter. So you don't have to wait till a birthday, and you don't have to wait for some major event. If you're watching and you don't like the chapter you're in, turn the page, start a new chapter. Name that chapter. So chapter 34, for me, it's me season. That's my name for this chapter. I'm moving, and I'm going to make sure that I take care of me this year so that I can better take care. I'm not moving away. I am going to make sure that I take care of myself so that I can be a better caretaker for my family, husband, kids, and for my students. Because as much as, and baby Mikey, that's my nephew. Because as much as I love all of those people, I have to make sure that I love myself just as much. And I don't know that I would have reached that without the chapters that I've closed and the discoveries I've made along the way. I think it's time for us to draw. So that's my story, y'all. My personal development story with a sprinkle of fragrance in there. Remember, believe in yourself. When you believe in yourself, magical things will happen. And even on your worst days, do what I did. Even when you're doubting yourself, make a promise that you're going to show up and be the best version of you that you can be in that moment, and dedicate yourself to turning the page. You can turn the page and start a new chapter. You gonna say bye? Y'all have a blessed Sunday. I'm gonna go spend time with this little baby. Are you a baby? How old are you? You're not 3.
No, I'm 4.
That's this many. Have a blessed Sunday, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. You guys have no idea how much it means to us. And we love you guys. And that's about it.